Hi, this is the quick start guide for My Best Practice for the calendar page. The calendar page is going to be the first page you're taken to when you log into My Best Practice. So once you enter your username, which is your email address, and your password, you're going to be initially taken to the calendar page. From this calendar page, if you have more than one staff member, you can select the calendar that you want to see, or you can even see more than one calendar simply by checking off which one you want, selecting all of them, deselecting them one, and just pick the one you want. So whatever there's a check next to, those will be the calendars that are going to be shown on the calendar. From the calendar page, you can also navigate to any of the other areas on My Best Practice that you need. If you need to see all of the sessions that you've conducted for all of your clients or just a specific client, you can go to the sessions page. Likewise, you can see your list of clients and access any particular client information by coming to the clients page. As you can see, there's a filter here if you want to jump down to different specific clients. Only show that information and get some specific information. Billing page is going to display billing information, and again, there are filters that are going to allow you to see all the different billing information for all the clients you've seen, or you can certainly simply select which client you want to display the billing information for and hit search, and it will display that information. You can come over to reporting, and there are reports where you can see things like revenue or billing and revenue report. And again, in the billing and revenue report, you can decide whether you want that done by days, weeks, months, things like that. And you can go to the to-dos tab. The to-dos tab, it's going to show you, for instance, session notes that haven't been completed and other information that you might want to follow up on. The messages tab allows you to see any messages that have come in from your clients, messages you've sent to your clients, or if you want to create a new message, you can do that here as well. You'll simply select the client you're sending the message to and go from there. The gearbox allows you to change your password, go to practice settings, or your document center where you can see, download, and also drag and drop any documents that you want to share with staff members or particular clients. Now, if at any point you want to go back to the calendar page, you can always navigate by coming to the calendar, but the other option is also to come over the upper left-hand corner and simply click on the My Best Practice logo, and that's going to always bring you back to this calendar page. So once we're here, if we want to see about how we'd add an appointment to the calendar, you simply click anywhere you want, and you're going to get this Create New Session window. So one option is you can simply navigate to where you want, click, and you'll get the Create New Session window. Or, if you want, you can look at these buttons. This is where you'd add a new client. This is where you'd add a new session. This is where you take payment. This is where you create an invoice. This is where you export your billing information. And so what we're looking to do is to add a session, to make an appointment. And so we just come right here to add a new session. And once again, it will give us that Create New Session. Now, if it's a clinical appointment, we simply come here. If I want to put something else on my calendar that doesn't involve a client, I want to go to lunch or something like that, I can do that here and add the appointment as well. If I'm adding a client appointment, first, all I have to do is make sure that that's me, Dr. Demo. If it's a different staff member, obviously we drop down and pick a different staff member. And that's going to allow me to populate my list of clients. And again, say I want to select a particular one, I can just enter their name into the search bar, select the client, then I can drop down here and pick a service associated with a CPT code if there is one. And these are pre-populated for me already. I can customize these in practice settings. Say I select that. This is the rate, the price for that particular service. And whatever price I put in here, as I move forward with a future session, it will assume that for this client, that this service is going to be at this rate. This is the date and time, and I can click on here and edit the day if I choose to. Right? Or I come in, if I had the time a little off, edit that as well, put in the cursor here, and I can change the length of the appointment time here if I wanted, decide whether I want it to be recurring or not, and then simply add the appointment. As you can see, that will populate right on the calendar. Now once that calendar is there, that calendar appointment is there, I can come in and edit the note, creating a note. And we'll take a look at that in a moment. But first, let's assume for a moment it's a new client. So they're not in my pre-populated list of my clients yet. I have a couple of options. One, I can simply come to the Client tab here and add a new client. I can also come right here to add a new client, this New Client button, and I'll get this Add New Client window. The other option is I can also click on the calendar, and since I don't have them here because it's a new client, I simply come over here to New, and once again it gives me the Add New Client window. So if I'm on the calendar and I have a new client on the phone or whatever and I want to enter that information for the first time, I simply come to the New Client button. If it's a new client and they haven't been in before, their starting balance is going to be a 0. If I'm transitioning a client into my best practice that already owes some money, I can put in what they owe, what their balance is, and that way my bookkeeping will be kept straight. But let's say it's a new client with a 0 balance. I come over and put in the first name, John Kelter, put in a phone number, put in John's email address, enter his birthday, pick the date, the month and day, and then I come here and simply click the cursor back, put in the year, and the software automatically calculates that he's not a minor, so he's an adult. And so if in terms of the intake forms, what I just drop down and decide which one to pick, once I've created an intake packet for adults and I create one for minors, if I see minors in my practice, this is going to automatically let me know I'm going to default to the minor packet. I simply hit Add Client. And now John Kelter, as we can see, has been successfully created and he's been sent the intake forms. Now I can decide if I want to give more information about John Kelter, or I can go right to the calendar to schedule the client. If I click this, it's going to take me to the Client tab, and I'll see the client overview, and right here I'll see a lot of the information that I just entered. John Kelter, first name, last name, he's an adult, his date of birth. But if I want to enter more information like his middle name or a nickname or his partner's name and that kind of information, I can do all of that here. Put in his gender, his marital status. And if I want, instead of his name, for a unique ID to be displayed on the calendar, if my practice uses that kind of thing, I can simply enter that here. And if I do that, then on the calendar, instead of seeing his name, it's going to display that unique ID. All I'll do after entering this information is to hit Save. This is also under Client Settings, where I can select the kind of session note, treatment plan, intake interview, and case conceptualization forms that I want to use for John Kelter. Now, at any point, if I decide I want to change which session note I'm using later on, I can always do that at the client level in a future session. But to start with, I go ahead and make sure that these are the default types of forms that I want to use, and if they are, then I simply hit Save, and we're ready to go. If I want to enter additional information like his address, I simply go down the line to contact information. Here's his mailing address, his phone number and email have already been entered. If I want to add his mailing address, enter it here. Apartment number 604A, New York, New York, 10065, and simply hit Add Address. Again, I can go down the line, add our insurance information if I want to do that by simply hitting plus. Any billing information is going to be kept track of here so I can view any services that have been provided that he's been billed for and any payments received. Right here, I can drag and drop any document that I want him to have access to, and likewise, he'll be able to drag and drop documents from the client portal that he wants me to be able to view. Down here are forms that have been sent to him, and so since he's received the intake packet, he was sent the HIPAA form and an intake questionnaire, both of which he'll be able to access electronically in his client portal, and he can complete them there. Now once he's signed something in the signature box for HIPAA, this will show up true, and this red will go away and become green once these are both true. So as he enters information into those forms, these will show up as true. Now, obviously it doesn't check whether or not his signature matches his name, and it doesn't certainly check to see that every box is completed in the intake questionnaire, but if he's entered any information into those two forms, these are going to show up true, and then you can view those forms to verify that you have all the information that you need. If we come over to analysis, this is where the treatment plan, case conceptualization, and intake interview are kept. Under the treatment plan, this is where you can add a diagnosis. So once I've done the intake interview, done my assessment, and concluded that he has major depressive disorder, I can simply type in depressive here, and it's going to search down and pull all kinds of options that I have for this. So major depressive disorder, recurrent, moderate, I select that, and if I simply click the add button, it's going to be added right here. If I have multiple diagnoses, I can come right back up, pick another one. Generalized anxiety disorder, add that as well. Now I've got multiple diagnoses selected with the ICD codes here. And so if John Kelter goes to his client portal, he can access his invoices, and his invoices will automatically populate with the diagnoses. This is where the list of all of his sessions would be displayed, and here's where I can see particular messages to and from this client. So if we come back to the calendar, you just click forward by the weeks and see recurring appointments that are already there. Likewise, if we want to go ahead and look at any particular appointment information, that's here where the service codes can be changed. Or I can access a note. I can look at a list view instead of a week view. So here's a week where I have appointments scheduled. I'll look at the day. I'll go back to the week. In terms of the way the display works, if I want to look at this a little differently, I can simply come to this little calendar button here, and I can edit the display. So we can just click over to the date we want to see. So say I want to come back a week. I want to go to week of February 18th. I can do that by simply putting in that date, and it will navigate us right to that week. And if I'm not into the office as early as 7 a.m. and I don't want to show that as a possible time, I can simply change the time here, make it 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and that's what the calendar will then show. If I wanted to display weekends, I can show those, but if I don't work weekends and I only want Monday through Friday to be displayed, I'll uncheck that box. And if I want to hide the names, so for instance, if my computer is in a place where clients can see the names and I'd prefer to have that not be the case, I can hide the names, and they'll either show up as initials, or if I enter that unique ID, they'll show up as a unique ID. That way, the client's confidentiality in terms of their names is always protected, and no other clients are going to be able to see that information. You can also choose to hide balances. So say I hide balances, save the changes, and now I have the client's name, but the balance is no longer displayed. If I want to put those balances back, I simply uncheck that box, click Save Changes. Now the balance is back, and as we can see, the time I selected, 9 a.m. up to 9 p.m. is also what's shown there. So we go through 9 o'clock. I want to start a little earlier again, as I mentioned, come back to 7 a.m. But I'm going to see a little later on the calendar, allow myself to book a 9 p.m. appointment, going right up to 10 p.m. I can do that here by clicking Save Changes. And now I can even book appointments as late as 9. So that's the basic navigation for the calendar page. Also how you can easily move from the calendar page to see sessions, clients, billing, reporting, our to-do list, messaging. And then over here at the gearbox, how to change passwords, go to practice settings or the document center. For more details about how to use these other navigations and how to set things up, take a look at our other videos.